everyone, Elite Golden here, and welcome back to an unexpected operation. This is not the Japanese 12th term, but instead it is a game recap. The war has been called off. The Common Turn and Allied powers have decided uh, uh, they're they're going to throw in the towel. So I'll say a few things about the game, but first, quick note to the fellow players of this game. It was really fun. Uh, Fantastic camaraderie. We had some amazing rule debates. Fantastic discussion on kind of the stress testing of this strategy to the rules. For example, one of the things was back when back when Free France held Anacom Tonkin. Technically, in the Free French rule set, it doesn't say anything about not being able to declare a war on Chinese warlords. And so Fighting Irish was about ready to do that, and then we had to have this big rule discussion about, okay, sure, the Free French rule set doesn't say that you can't, but all of the other Allied rule sets say that you cannot. So perhaps was this an oversight, and no one had really given much thought to Free France being able to declare war on a warlord? And we came to an agreement, of course. I think with a bit of input perhaps from some of the developers, but it was really fun to have those kind of conversations. Like, Free France is going to declare on warlords, or honestly, better yet, Free France is going to take Rome. It was such a crazy game. I loved every moment of it. So to to Fighting Irish on the British Commonwealth and the Free French, to Major Foe on the Americans and KMT, and to Silk on the USSR and CCP. It was a real fun game, you guys. Real fun. Probably one of the best games I ever played of this. And I look forward to the next one. Speaking of which, we are doing another game. I think Major Foe's already got that kicked off. I think he just recorded his turn and uploaded it just a couple hours ago, so don't worry, there will be no pause. We're just going to get right back into it. Um, yeah, so the the Allies haven't taken their turn, and so Japan's still sitting pretty way up at 71 smackers. Um, they were just kind of thinking, not necessarily any point to do that, so might as well start on the next game and get going there. So check chart was okay for Japan. Ended up getting improved construction at the very end. Never got factories rolled for that for hot dang. That was 11 times, and I only succeeded 3 times. That's not great, but it's what it is. Can't complain too much. Everything else went pretty well. Here's the victory chart. Obviously, Berlin and Tokyo were held by their respective countries. Rome fell to France, and well, I don't know. MP7 and I, we were kind of going back and forth on whether or not Rome should get taken back, because taking Rome back from Free France effectively kicks them out of Europe, makes it really difficult for them to mount any assaults against us anymore, or him, and also then would be money back in his pockets. London and Paris held by Germany at the end there. Moscow and Stalingrad untouched and unlikely to be touched ever. Calcutta and Sydney have been in my hands for quite a while, and who knows, Nanking hopefully eventually would have come into the fold of the empire, but I wasn't looking to make any hasty moves there because I had the Americans to deal with. But other than that, the victory, or I should say, the strategic objectives, this is looking a little bare. The Germans didn't get any of theirs. Let's see, Festung Europa, the Atlantic Wall, that was kind of tough to get because he ended up spending so much money fighting the British, kind of trying to keep them down, fighting the Free French, keeping them from, well, they were a nuisance, and it's he was just trying not to lose to them. Italy, of course, didn't get anything, and I was working on these. I I think I would have got this within another turn or two. Attu Island only had a militia, and so all I really needed to do would have been to just take perhaps a carrier with a plane and a marine. That would have been all right, and then Wake would have also easily fallen, considering I didn't lose much in Hawaii, but we'll get to that in a moment. And then Kitabutai, I was hot on the tails of that one as well. Um, as of the board state right now, Japan has 6 capital ships and the United States has 6 capital ships. So all I need is one more, and I've got Kitabutai. The Allies, of course, had a real tough time. China probably would not have evolved. I mean, with how good France was doing, they might have been able to snake Paris at some point. But then Britain was never doing too good. And it seemed like towards the end, America was starting to do a bit of a kill Germany first strategy by pulling its entire fleet. Where is their fleet? Where did that go? Here it is. They pulled their entire fleet over here off the coast of Portugal, and so they started really diving headlong into that. But who knows what the actual strategy would have been? You'll have to ask Major Foe. And then the Russians, well, they were really just getting started. It was going to be pretty tough for the Germans for the rest of the game. It had been a lot of defensive plays. So of course they had all their cities, so they get propaganda war. They probably would have got technological supremacy. They weren't doing too bad there. Spanish Civil War, of course, went to them, and the Winter War, of course, went to them when Helsinki did not give too much of a defense. And everything else, yeah, it's still fairly early. It's only been 11 and a half turns. So so yeah, it I think there was still a little bit of game left, but it with with the Allies having a total of $1 right now because I forgot to raid them. You know what? Let's raid them right now. Let's just see what would have happened had I remembered. Japan is orange. Let's see. Nothing there. And coastal subs, come on, come on. Ooh, that's a plus one because coastal subs get a plus one. That's all I needed. Uh, so had I remembered, they would have been collecting a grand total of probably $4, and that's all KMT money right there for this turn. We did a pretty good job sacking capitals on this last turn here. So here's of course the fatal blow. New Orleans and Washington D.C. falling due to the Japanese destroyer transports from Uruguay. Now, I wanted to land in Texas or Florida or Puerto Rico to take it. The seaplanes would have been really nice targets. Texas would have been nice because of the factory, but the American national objective worth $12 is tied to these cities, and so I figured I should probably try to land in the cities so that when the Americans do start trying to take it back, I'm a little bit better on defense, and if I do push them off for a turn, well then hey, that's all right. Then I hold their objective for another turn. The reason that the Germans started spreading out around here was because we noticed that Major Foe hadn't reinforced DC, and we wanted to make sure that the Soviets couldn't lend lease them something, uh, and kind of stop this capital spike. So he's wildly out of position, just trying to help me out here. So not sure what would have happened after that. He had a really, really good battle here on this last turn in London. Didn't lose a thing going into it and took out a handful of units, probably, I don't know, maybe 7 or so. So he did a really good job there. But who knows what this fleet this contingent over here. There's the fleet here could have gone down, could have gone up. Who knows what it was going to do? But over here in Gibraltar, well, they were poised to strike somewhere. Um, this was a thorn in Germany's side the whole game. That was just fun to watch. Well, it was fun, but at the same time, MP7 was having a really tough time with his luck. Um, and so and so it just kind of became a stalemate after a while. Eventually, he was planning on taking it back, perhaps. Um, that would have, of course, depended on how well he was doing against the Russians. Um, I suppose I should make a quick disclaimer. I would like to claim no no credit for this strategy whatsoever. This was all MP7's idea. Right off the bat, he said, um, "Let's do something crazy. Let's go to war right away." And I thought he was joking, so I laughed. He was not joking, and here we are 11 turns later with a fantastically viable strategy. I hate to say it, but I think it's too overpowered, and I can't see any easy defenses to it other than being more careful with the allied positioning right away. But still, it's oh boy, it's lethal. Um, using the using the surprise strike on Calcutta early was good. I was barely out of position. I didn't want to. For a moment, I wanted to use it on Malaya because of the fortification and coastal guns there. but my transports wouldn't have been able to make it, so I had to do it into Calcutta, which worked out well, clearly quite well. I took Malaya, Hong Kong, Sarawak, and Calcutta all in the same turn. Maybe even grabbed Burma as well, but yeah, all in the same turn. They fell, so India was pretty much dead in the water for the rest of the game. And then it was only a matter of time before Anzac fell. I grabbed the Money Islands too. That was massive, absolutely massive, because not only is it worth $9 down here, but also it's worth two more and two more for these resource-rich islands. So having having an additional $4, so $13 right here lapped up in I think a turn or two was huge for the Japanese war effort. I lost way more than I wanted to in Sydney. That was awful. Damaging the airfield cost me a medium bomber, and the anti-aircraft, which was only firing at a 2 or less because the city was encircled, got 2 hits out of 3. So uh, I'm glad to be on Major Foe's team in the next game here because any anti-aircraft gun that he touches that I have to go up against, it's bad news. Um, so yeah, that was how that went. It was really nice getting Anzac surrendered because it took off a couple of units. Mostly it just took off. There was a light cruiser up here near Italy in the fleet. It was good to get that off. Never want planes to get shot down. And they had 2 bucks saved, so it was good to get them out of there too. Um, and then once those guys were dealt with, it was time to go on to the Americans. Clearly, it's working. It's working out well. Let's see. I've got 7 planes over here now, quite a few subs, a few capital ships, and a lot of carriers. Um, and yeah, I just took Hawaii with losing 1 Marine. And so next turn, what I was going to do, depending on the fleet, if the fleet was still out here, I was going to fight it. I really thought that it would be good to fight the fleet and pretty much lock in Kido Butai for the rest of the game if they were out here. But if they went into port back there, oh, geez, my bad. Then what I would have done uh, would have been, come on. All right, it's just gonna have to be wonky now. If they had gone into port, then what I would have done was head on over to Wake, and now that would have been a slog and a half. Anti-aircraft gun and a Major Foe anti-aircraft gun at that. 1 militia, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 infantry, a light tank, coastal gun, and then that lone fighter. It would have been a really tough slog. All I would have been able to do would have been bring in an additional 2 Marines. And I think I don't know. Maybe I could have had it with all the bombards I had and all the aircraft I've got. Maybe I could have had it. Um, but it would have been real tough. And well, who knows? Kind of fun to speculate though. So that would have been easy. Would have left Atu Island for just a little bit longer since, well, if I don't get Wake but I get Atu, still don't get the point. So Wake was the priority then. And then I would have grabbed Alaska because it's worth $1, and at this point it's pretty difficult for the Americans to try to take back. So that was that. Kind of looking forward over here, I wanted to see how the Chinese Civil War went. I appreciated how it wasn't uh, how Major Foe kind of started to fight the CCP a little bit for the territory, and because what he could have done quite easily would have been pick these guys up, walk them back. It would have been a little more difficult for the CCP to get Nanking with 4 militia in a city, but he totally could have just walked them all back to the back lines, had him sneak through, and getting these two, total of 4, maybe even getting an influence role here at some point. That would have been an easy major power for the CCP. So I just appreciate what Major Foe was doing, and it wasn't like throwing a victory point at the common turn powers, but also kind of like vying for his own position a little bit. Um, and I was going to leave the CCP and KMT alone for a little while longer. What I was actually going to do next, and I think he would have probably been on turn 12, would have been to attack Russia. I needed to attack Russia at this point because, oh boy, the hordes over here, the gigantic armies that were going to begin clashing with the Germans, were starting to become so massive that I was really worried that if I didn't start taking away money from Russia, then Germany would just get rolled at some point. And I suppose at the same time, I'm also looking for more money to start grabbing because Hawaii was the last. Okay. Hawaii was the last like real IPC rich territory that I could grab. I'm pretty sure the last thing that I could get would have been Alaska, and otherwise, I'm grabbing Somaliland and Nubia over the next like 5 turns or something. Um, so I was kind of running running out of running out of money to grab, and so having $83 for the next turn was gonna be pretty fantastic, but um, I wasn't gonna collect that for long because of course he'd want DC back and of course New Orleans as well. So needed to keep finding ways to make more money, and $2, a third, four, five, six, maybe even nine from Novosibirsk, or 10, 11 from Mongolia. That would have been a huge hit to the Russian economy in efforts to help the Germans, as well as perhaps even forcing them to divert troops my way. And uh, that's kind of what MP7 and I were discussing at some point. Like it was kind of a situation of him saying, "Yeah, I think I can hold on, but hey, as soon as you can, uh, I'm gonna need some help." Also, I maybe had aspirations of trying to take back Iraq and Iran from Russia, but that would have also been a pretty difficult task. Um, I put the medium tank here in Calcutta so that he could kind of just like form this huge force in Maharashtra, and well, effectively try to begin opening up another front, or at least make him nervous, referring to Silk, of course, about him perhaps losing some IPCs and then needing to divert forces that otherwise would have gone towards the Germans. I was worried a little bit about him attacking me in like one of my weaker areas because as it stands right now, I really only had uh, the militia in Maharashtra. So 3 infantry and 3 cavalry would have been absolutely killer. They would have clearly won the fight. Now the Soviets and I are at war, and I'm out of position because let's see, I've got a few guys on the border, but I don't have anything to back it up. I'll bring the planes with, but if I start losing land units, those land units are going to become harder and harder to replace. Um, Also, with that was these cavalry. They can move two in mountains, and so him keeping them around was pretty good threat protection there. Threat projection. But yeah, that's pretty much the whole thing. I I was really excited to keep the game going. I mean, uh, like I said, this strategy feels awfully overpowered in terms of Axis power, and it just kind of it snowballs so fast. MP7 did a fantastic job eventually getting London surrounded. Now, when London had nobody in it, I wasn't a huge fan of leaving it alone. I get that the island nation debuff for both Britain and Japan is a thing, and you can use it kind of to whatever capacity you'd like. But when when there was nobody in London and quite a sizable force of Germans in southern England, we kind of uh, or at the very least, I was looking at it like, maybe maybe this feels a little cheap at this point. But then the British, I think after 2 turns of having London surrounded, they declared war on the Soviets to pull them into the war, and so it kind of forced Germany uh, to well start playing its own new kind of game. It forced Germany to then declare war on the Soviets so that they wouldn't have their Barbarossa lost. So all in all, uh, quite a few rules being taken advantage of, even by giving Turkey to the British just so that they could start being a menace down here as well. Um, but all in all, still a really fun game. Of course, no feelings hurt by that, but interesting speculations as to how the rules could be changed in a way to make it a little bit better. Um, just because in this situation, when the Russians attack Turkey, why would the Turks want to go with Britain? Britain is dead in the water. So uh, it's a board game. So the rules kind of are what they are. It's pretty easy. But yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about an unexpected operation. MP7 did a fantastic job kind of cueing me in onto, all right, now this turn, make sure you try to do this, and then look ahead. And oh, also by the way, in 2 turns, I'm going to be going after the Netherlands. So in 2 turns, you be ready to take the Money Islands, and just kind of things like that. Oh man, we corresponded so much. It was pretty much every turn that we were hopping onto the save file, and we pretty much talked through each other's turns, uh, from the buys to the attacks, the non-combat, just kind of how we wanted to be set up for the next turn. We had loads of conversations about that, and it was a good time. Uh, so I'm glad that the play group is sticking together because it's a bunch of really good guys. Really fun time to play this game with them. So with that, yep, the Axis win. Good job, MP7. We had a blast. Um, but hey, it's not over yet. We're gonna start it all up again. Operation, I think it's called Operation Desolation, or Desolate Hope or something. I'm not I'm not sure. It's still pretty new to me. Um, we're keeping in line with the Hobbits, I think. I haven't seen them, and so I'm just kind of going along with it. They were cool names for the operation, but maybe one of these days I'll have to sit down and actually watch the shows. Uh, but yeah, I'll be playing Japan again for that one, and so maybe it'll be a little more normal of a Japanese game, but uh, I don't know. We'll have to see what comes of it. Maybe next time I will go to war with China. We'll see. All right. Well, thanks so much for watching, everybody. This has been an unexpected operation. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. And I'll catch you in the next one. Later. Yes. One thing I forgot to talk about a little bit was I just wanted to real quick mention that my intros for the video were all kind of structured around how my turn was going to go or how it went. So for the first 2 turns when there was no war, I just had a very regular um, uh, um, Japanese like battle song. I think it's called like Batati or something. Uh, and then for the turn that went to war, I found like the craziest remix of the song with like huge bass and like all those like funky like kind of electro sounds. And so I had that one as like an extreme, like, oh boy, we're going to war with somebody, or oh boy, there's a major battle taking place. And then I had a medium one that was it was still pretty upbeat, kind of like new modern music type stuff. And that was more for we're at war, we've got some battles, but nothing crazy is going on. So I just kind of want to let you know. I'll put all those songs in the description below so that you can listen to them for yourself. I know when I was making the intros at the very beginning of this. Got it stuck in my head for a couple of weeks, and so it's pretty funny. But yeah, if you want to listen to them, I'll put them in the description. And since I'm Japan again next turn, I'll keep the same intro and I'll keep the same lineup. So if you're watching next time and you see my turn and you click onto it and the first thing you hear is a crazy upbeat song, then you know something cool is going to happen. It's going to be a good turn. So, all right. Just wanted to make that one last remark while I was still thinking about it. Now I'll catch you on the next one.